Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to everyone. Terima kasih kepada semua yang bersama-sama dengan perintis pada pagi ini untuk sesi yang pertama, iaitu daripada Early Career Academics Online Seminar and Training Series 2022 ataupun singkatannya ialah EAST2022. So this is a program organized by Perintis and specifically under the wing of Perintis Young Professionals or PYP. So my name is Muhammad Rashdan bin Saad. I am currently the Vice President of Perintis and I am in charge of conducting programs under PYP or Perintis Young Professionals. So as for today, I think we will be having the session in dua bahasa tu sebab we also have participants, international participants, and at the same time we also have local. So I think I'll leave that to the speaker, which is Prof. Rizal, to decide. Okay, and what I would like to introduce to you before we start our very first session with Prof. Rizal is the lineups of the topics that we have under EAST 2022. So for February, this is the first one. The very first one is titled Essential Tips for Planning and Managing a Successful Research Project. And on next month, we have about how to manage your time, which falls under the title of Habits of Highly Effective Academics. And then about climbing the academic ladder, followed by what are the good attributes of leaders in academia, fostering good relationship between academia and industry, what are the must-have attributes of successful postgraduate supervisors, and finally, why is it important to have professional qualifications? Okay, so these are the interesting topics that we have lining up for you and from February until August. Just make sure that you always visit our Facebook page, our Perintis Facebook page, because we will be releasing the registration links and the poster of the each events on our Facebook page. Okay, and also just kind of a rough guideline, we will have our session on the very final Wednesday of each month. Betul Prof. Rizal? We try to set
final
Rabu,
week of
final week. So the final week of the month, the final Wednesday of the month. Okay. So, but again, please stay tuned to our Facebook page just to have a confirmation on the dates for each event. Okay, so without further ado, I think I would like to hand over to Prof. Rizal. I think Prof. Rizal will introduce himself. Lebih baik kot daripada saya introduce. Sebab kalau saya nak bacakan dia punya profile, agak-agak setengah jam baru habis ni kan. Okay, so we will have our session santai-santai, relax. Prof. Rizal juga kata kalau ada soalan in the middle, we can just ask the question. Sama ada you nak type di ruangan chat ataupun nak buka mikrofon pun okay Prof. Sebab it's going to be a two-way communication. Jadi kita harapkan ada juga yang nak share your experience, tapi janganlah jadi sesi luahan perasaan kan, nanti jadi panjang pula kan. So kalau agak-agak nak share masalah ke, just keep it short so that we can cater and answer, Prof can answer sebaiknya lah. Okay, so tanpa buang masa, saya serahkan kepada Prof. Tapi before that, sorry, untuk yang nak rakaman recording of this event, lepas ni boleh masuk ke website, ke Facebook Perintis juga, akan ada link untuk rakaman which is on YouTube. Dan yang kedua ialah slides presentation for today akan di-upload dalam link yang saya dah bagi dalam ruangan chat. Saya akan bagi semula kejap lagi. Lepas saya minta slide daripada Prof. Rizal, saya akan upload di situ. Jadi kita akan ada sesi sampai Ogos nanti. Itu will be our one-stop portal for you to access all the slides for each session. Okay, so hopefully semua dapat bersamalah sampai Ogos insyaAllah. Okay, jadi tanpa buang masa saya persilakan Prof. Rizal. kita akan lebih kurang 1 jam, Prof. Kemudian setengah jam kita allocate for question and answer.
Boleh,
Okay?
insyaAllah.
Terima kasih, Prof. Dipersilakan, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much to Associate Professor Dr. Rashidan for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all participants. I hope my voice is clear enough to be heard, so that if you, I hope there's no problem for me to share with you my view on the topic. Let me just share my slide first. Okay, can you see my slide?
Clear, Prof.
Okay, clear. Okay, so my name is Dr. Muhammad AlShat. I'm still in academia. I've joined as a lecturer, as a young lecturer, back in on the 8th of March 1999 in University of Science Malaysia in the School of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. I've completed my PhD in University of Liverpool in January 1999. So in the field of electronic engineering, specification in underwater robotic vision system. So and since then, I've been working as an academic, as a lecturer, as a researcher, as an educator in University of Science Malaysia until November 2019, when I was seconded to University of Malaysia Perlis to become the Deputy Vice Chancellor on Academic and International Affairs in the UNIMAP until end of August 2021, last year, so roughly about 2 years. Now I'm back in USM as an academic in the same school, School of Electrical Electronic Engineering. And technically, I have another 9 years down the road before I will go for retirement or pension lah kan. So I'm about 51 years old now. So I've been in the academia. I've joined at age 28. So now I'm 51. So you can pass in academia. So I've been managing research project, a number of research projects from a number of funders, from ministries, from industries, from international bodies. Not many, but got some small experience on that. But basically, managing research project, and as an academic, we cannot run away but having to conduct to do research project, because that is the nature of an academics in a higher institution of higher learning, where you are not just should be. We should be a good teacher, educator. We should be an excellent researcher. We should be a very credible administrator. We should be a very an excellent leader. You know, there's so many roles and responsibility being given to us. And as an academy, I would like, if I presume the 42 odd numbers of us in online now, or 43 maybe. So almost all of us are probably are lecturers, or maybe PhD students, or maybe young, I presume young academics, or maybe not so young academics. So when you say young or not so, I mean, when you say young academics, I presume not in relation to your actual age, but in terms of the years of the number of years you are in academia. So basically that measure, and there's no like a very specific kind of clear kind of I mean, demarcation, or these are young academics, these are not so young, or these are senior academic, etc., etc. So that there's always very vague boundaries between these categories. Okay, so so I would say I've written an article many years ago, which I say that people put a lot of expectation on us, and as an academic. As I said earlier, you are expected to be excellent in whatever thing that you touch. You know, if you have maybe you've read about the Midas touch, you know, where there's a king called Midas, where everything he touched becomes gold. And so this is like what people expect of us. People expect us to, whatever we touch, we touch become gold. So when you are given a project, a research grant, people expect you to completely successfully complete it, not just meeting expectation, but supersede the expectation of the research project. So this is a challenge of being academics. And when we cannot deliver on the expectation, sometimes you are you may be looked down upon. Maybe people look down on you because not you. I mean not people in the general, but those who give funding to you, they will you will go into their black book, you know. So that's why it's essential for us to understand when we get any research grant, when we are awarded any research project, it is a huge responsibility. And it's not about the amount. Some say maybe if you get 10,000 is less, maybe you get 100,000 is more responsibility. There's more responsibility on the. But to me, it's not so much about, yes, of course, the amount will have a significant impact, but it's not so much about the amount. It is about whether we can successfully complete the project and deliver on the outcome. So this is the critical thing. So when we talk about research project, it is as in any other project in that we have in life. For example, even if you have let's say you say you have I have a project to modify my car, right? So I don't know, to do something to my car to make it to add more accessories, etc. To make it, I don't know. So I have to have a clear and specific objective what I'm trying to do. Is it whose responsibility is it? Is it that somebody must do it? Somebody must do some work in order for us to achieve whatever outcome that we are aiming for. And is any sort of plan undertaking which is finite? It is basically a project is anything that is finite and bounded. So there's rarely that you see a project which is that go on and on and on without any clear target. So a project is normally are very finite. That means finite means there is a very clear aim of what you are aiming for, and bounded by it can be bounded by typically by time, but also by the finance that we have, the amount of money that we have in the project, probably by, so there's by other parameters. There's so many things that can govern the success or can influence even that can push towards a failure of a project. So of course, when you do any project, there are always constraints, and almost all projects will operate under constraints, and constraints can come in many forms. And some of us will have grants. What more? If we have multiple grants, we are adding. Our constraints are compounded. I think all of us are, most of us are engineers, from a technical background. You know that when you have errors and you do not do anything to the errors, the error will be compounded. It's a compounded errors. And those who work in robotics, you know that when talk about debt reckoning methods, and those in robotics will know this most of them. You know that it is debt reckoning. That means if you have an error, you will compound the error, and after sometimes your algorithm debt reckoning navigation approach will be haywire because the error are compounded. So and all projects will have constraints, and so we have to know what are the constraints of our project. So let me relay some anecdotes, some stories. I have my former students working as academics in many universities, not many, just some universities. You know, there is even our geographical location of our university will have an impact on projects. Like Dr. Rashidan, he's with the University of Tahanan. He's right smack in Kuala Lumpur, I think. So the university have very accessible, because it is in the capital city compared to some, maybe I would say, let's say, University of Malaysia Pahang, for example, is in the East Coast, for example. Here, like University of Science Malaysia is in Penang, not on the island. Well, our main campus on the island, but engineering campus on the mainland, on the peninsula. So even that can easily be one constraint of our project. So this is why we need to know any project that we're trying to, even right on the proposal stage, we need to be clear of the potential constraint that we might have. Okay, don't worry guys, I will not spend 1 hour talking one way to you. I will go through this very fast, and then we can discuss. Okay, so what are the possible constraints of a research grant? Of course, time. Research grant is always about time, of course. And there's always this appreciation of time when you talk about the research, the time needed to complete a research project. There's a different paradigm. If you work in the industry, it's very typical, it's normal to have a research project with a duration time of 3 months, 6 months, maybe max 1 year, 12 months. That's max for in the industry. But for universities, in a university setting like us, a short-term grant probably at least 1 year, typically 2 years, right? Maybe if you have like a FRGS, fundamental research grant, or prototype research grant from MOHE, probably it can go up to 2 years, maybe it can extend to 3 years, etc. And you go for the long-term research grants, long-term research grant scheme, the LRGS, it can go for 5 years, etc., up 3 to 5 years, for example. So time is fundamental, and time will always be measured as a constraint and also a push factor for us to complete projects. And sometimes time also will make or break our project. So we need to be realistic about it. And then clarity of scope. I think if you are not clear on what exactly you want to do in your project, we are going down the path of doom, I would say. If you're not clear of what you do, it's like very typical. Like if you have some of us, probably many of us have research student, right? We have your master's student and your PhD student, and most of us have experience doing our own master's and PhD, for example. We know that if you are not clear of why we want to do, or what is the exact scope or objective and scope of your research, we're going to be in trouble, and you're going to have a lot of difficulties in the Viva Voce session, for example, how to justify what exactly we are doing. Bottom line, if you do not know your problem, so what kind of solution are you offering? So you are not sure of the problem. So the same thing with projects. We need to be clear. There must be a crystal clarity on the scope of the project. Because if you, for example, overstep, or you are not very clear on the scope, you might put yourself in a very big trouble. I remember one of my friends, when I would say maybe then in year 2000, 2001, my friend, he's a robotic researcher, he submitted a proposal to the ministry. Back then it was called IRPA. IRPA, maybe some of you do not know what IRPA means, but intensive, they call it IRPA. This is the precursor to e-science and all the ERES, etc. Intensive Research Priority Area, IRPA. He requested, he submitted a very good proposal to the ministry under IRPA scheme, funding scheme. He was asking, I think around, if I'm not mistaken, about 500,000 ringgit, something, $500,000, maybe 400 or 500, I can't remember exactly. But they offer him, during the offering, they offer him $150,000, up to 150,000 ringgit. And they asked him with this, can you complete the project? So in his work, he needs to purchase a robotic system because he's not building a robot, he's looking on the algorithm for the manufacturing sector. That robot itself will cost around 100,000 plus, and they're offering him 150,000. And because he got this clarity of scope of research, he rejected the proposal. Because if I take this 150,000, I'll die, I will die because he will not be able to deliver. So because he's clear of the scope of the research and the objective, he knows whether to accept or not to accept. And the same with us. Sometimes we apply for proposal, and you got the grant, you submit proposal for this grant, and you successfully award the grant. Sometimes the amount, if the amount is not what we requested for, and it is too, like, maybe let's say 40% off from the one that we applied for, and we know that it is we will not have enough financial cover to complete the project, it is wise to consider not to accept the grant, because you will put yourself right from the very beginning in the path of trouble. So that's why when we are clear on the clarity, we are very clear on the scope, on the objective, then we are okay. Okay, and then talk about access to literature resources. When you talk about resources, this is very generic. It can be lab resources, it can be material access, it can be expertise. Because we come from different backgrounds. Some of our research need specialists or a specialized kind of design, for example, or expert where we need to ask them to do some part of the work for us. Sometimes we don't have access to that person or to that particular specialized equipment, and that will basically dampen our progress of our research project. So these constraints must be identified right from the very beginning, because this will ensure our success rate will increase. And then access to, this is very generic, for example, funding, then the whether, and the last point, the publishable quality. These are not exhaustive, and there are so many other concerns. Just putting up some possible constraint. Whether the output of the research will be publishable, and we know as a we are not, though you are this session is especially offered for targeted for the early career kind of academics. It is we are not that young, in the sense that we know what is we should be able to measure what is publishable quality and what is publishable, non-publishable kind of quality of the output of the potential output of the research work. Because you do not want to, there are situations where you can successfully complete the project, but the output is not publishable, and because for somehow that is probably by the time you complete your project, it is also already been the output, the novelty that you claim, you so much claim, has already been is already outdated, for example. So there are you need to be able to anticipate this and make sure that we do not wait until the end of the project delivery time that you want to start to publish. As much as possible, this publication, for example, will have to be gradually increased as you progress in your research work. The scope of your project, what are we trying to achieve in your project? I think this is fundamental, because there's so many. I think I've seen in my own experience, personal experience, and when I talk to my colleagues, sometimes you can put a very catchy title. People put sometimes the title is so catchy that it's very difficult for people not to give you the project. But sometimes you yourself are not trying your luck. You're trying your luck. Yeah, because you can put very nice things on paper. You can plan, you can put, but at the end of the day, you will be measured on the actual outcome or actual output that you produce at the end. And you, as an early career academics, you must be careful on this, because the academic world is not that big, and nowadays, things, anything you do seems to be perpetual. It never goes away. It's like the internet. If you upload a video, weird video, do not expect it to be deleted. It will be there forever, quote unquote, forever, perpetual. So if you make some wrong judgment, and you for example, you did something not right during your proposal, or you did not deliver outright, did not deliver on the project, these are there. This will be there almost perpetual. And so that's why we have to plan our project so that it will be a progression of incremental kind of performance improvements. And because you do not want to create a historical non-performance record in your career progression. Okay. So you have to be clear, or we have to be clear. Not just you. We all of us must be clear of what we are trying to achieve in our project, research project. What are the limits of your investigation, and how will you measure whether the project have you completed the project, or you have not completed the project? I used to have colleagues I have my back in 2000, I would say 2010. I got 2010. Yes, 2010. Sorry, I'm confused. 2015. Sorry, 2015. I got the opportunity to do my sabbatical in France, in Montpellier, in France, under the Mosty brain gain scheme. So they gave me around 75,000 ringgit. So I got the opportunity to spend about 5 months plus in Montpellier, in France, and in one lab, they call it this is in French. My French is really very bad, so it's a Montpellier robotic lab. Montpellier robotic. So my colleague there, Lionel Lepere, he was saying to me, he told me that, Rizal, when I apply a project, I will only apply project for those which I've done. So his approach is that the project that he submitted is already a completed project. So this is my French friend colleague approach in submitting proposal. That means when he submits a proposal, that is not a new project. That is a project which he has completed, probably maybe during using whatever resources that he already have in his university. So when he submitted the project, that project is already completed or almost completed. So you imagine the interesting dynamics here. When he submitted the project is already nearly completion internally. So he got the project, and he got the funding for sure. Let's say he got the funding. Imagine after 2 years, he will not just submitted an outcome which is meeting the promised expected outcome project, but most likely he will produce an outcome which will be exceed the expectation of the funder. So you understand. So there are many paradigm or approach of how you want to approach a research project. And for him, for example, for Lionel, I think I find it very interesting, because typically when I submit, when I submit a proposal, this is totally new project which I have not done, and I'm trying. So there's always a possibility of not able to deliver the outcome, or the project may not be successful, and I may not be able to develop whatever, or find whatever the solution I would like to get from the project. So, and this is a typical approach of many people, many of us. When we submit a proposal, that is a totally novel, new, nobody have done it. We also have never done it. So there's a lot of risk. And I would say very It's very risky for you to submit a project. It's totally new. You've not done any, just you literally, you basically, you have not done anything, any work on it actually. You just study the literature and submit. And I can understand. I can understand the stress or the competition that you're having. When I was in 1999, when I came back to the Malaysian academic culture, there are the research, the competition to research funding is not that great, you know. People will, I remember my senior will propose to me, will ask me to submit grants, but among them there was no like really, I do not really see a very stiff you know, there's no obvious pressure or the push to go for apply for funding. But now no, now when I talk to my juniors, the young, the newly, you know, they just finished a PhD in the last 2-3 years, when they come back, they are in full gear, you know. They are in full gear, you know. In Malaysia they talk about the KPI culture, etc. And you know, these young academics are really go for it. They are just right from the whistle, they are running, they are sprinting, you know. Whereas us, the old people, are just still walking, just sprinting. And you got so many young researchers, new, very competitive, and I understand that you need to submit put your feet on the door so that the door won't close. So you just submit the best idea that you can have. But these are you have to be ready, because these are very risky, because you have not really done any tangible work on it. Like maybe you study on it, maybe you submit it. You've done some comprehensive literature review, and it is basically the borderline, there's a borderline overlap to your current area, but you really have never done it. So you must be careful on what we, on the potential outcome of the project. Okay, so and then beneficial, you have to think of who will benefit from your research work. Who do you want to influence? What impact do you want your work to have, your research project to have? And I would suggest to you, especially the early career kind of the young academics that have already only recently joined academia. Let's say for the last 2-3 years, maybe last 5 years, you just joined academia. You have to you have to plan out your research, let's say, career for the next 5-10 years, at least the next 10 years, so that you can plan out your research path in parallel. What is your research path? What kind of expertise that you want to be strong in, rather than just, you know, just apply and get a grant, whatever grant that you have, without put it basically strengthening one over another. I've met also my friend, also a professor who have grant in so many fields, engine, so many fields, robotics, until even as a friend, I also do not know what his field, but he's a professor. Okay, but I personally, I do not suggest that you go to that path. It's good to build your strength, you know, so that you build your, let's say, that's why in academia you start, for example, with, like in USM, they have an incentive research funding. Incentive, maybe they gave you 5,000. These are pre-COVID era, and now COVID with all the financial issue, maybe have change. Intensive funding. Then they go for short-term grant. Maybe short-term can go up to 20,000. Then you start apply for, now you start to apply for fundamental research grant, FRGS. Then if it is good, there's some excellent work, you start to go for PRGS, prototype research grant. Maybe after the prototype research grant is also what we call it, successful, you start to go for maybe commercialization. I know there are CRDF, etc. So there, and then maybe when my time there was like Techno Fund. Nowadays they have my lab. They have so many other different grant instrument, different type. But then it's always a progression. And progression is good because that shows you have credibility to deliver. Okay, and you have to. I would suggest when you okay, this morning is about how to make sure that you can successfully complete a research project. But completing research project should be one aspect of your career as your work as an academics, and it should strengthen your bigger circle of becoming a holistic or an excellent academics research, doing a research project. Because you remember, I think I've said much earlier, you need to become an excellent educator, a very credible administrator. You know, so there's so many expectations. But you do not want just to become a very excellent researcher, but very poor educator. That means students do not understand what you're talking about. You do not assist, do not contribute in the administration task in the department or in the faculty. You do not relate to your other colleagues, or you cannot. That is not to me, that is not the purpose. That is not a real academic. A real academic will be try as much as possible to be a person who are I would say have a balanced outlook on in terms of his contribution in different aspects. Okay, and then for your research area, who are the key beneficiaries? For example, think ahead for the impact you want your research to have on your career. Who needs to know you and what you are doing? And this is the reality of the world. I mean, you need to. Sometimes there are in this world there are many issues to be solved, but there are popular issues. There are the not so popular issues. There are the issues are which are in trend issues. There are the issues, the problem which are in the back room. Nobody is important, but nobody really really want to do it because maybe the word it's not sexy. Yeah, sexy. It's not sexy enough. Huh? Nowadays, if you do anything on probably on solar or renewable energy, or probably it's a sexy kind of sexy in a positive connotation. Huh? I'm not trying to be sexist here, but popular. If you go for these populist kind of topics, you'll attract attention, but you have to put it in a bigger plan. It's not just for kind of transient kind of attraction that you want. You want a long-term sustainable support of your research agenda. Okay, and of course there are always tools. Okay, if I can simplify, when you look at research project, you start off with the problem that you want to solve, and then you clarify the objective. Okay, what you want to do and the scope, because you cannot. There is no one project that trying to go out and try to solve all problem, any problem from every angle. No, there's no such project there. I would say you're going to find it difficult to find a project that try to solve all possible problems to a research, to all possible angle to a research problem. No, I tell you, I share one story. There used to be a researcher in our university that he produced. This is sensitive, so I need to be careful here. So he produced a solution which is very novel and probably in the world. Novel, probably in the world. So that means to that research problem, he has produced a very novel solution. A novel solution, fair enough. So in terms of the research project, he has successfully produced a clear-cut novel solution. Excellent. Now, why did he produce that? Because that solution will technically will be able to solve a lot of problems in the real world. But in order to take that excellent research output to the real world, commercial world, there are no takers. That means a novelty can be research output can be very noble, but it's not marketable. Nobody want it. It's not. So that means, though what I'm trying to highlight, not so much on the noble output, but to say that not the best solution do not cover every angle. So in this aspect, the novel solution was not able to cover the marketing or the actual commercial commercial potential, the angle of on the marketing angle or commercialization angle. So at the end of the day, that novel solution which would be able has the potential to solve many of the world problem, some or one of the big energy problem in the world, it goes into cold storage because it is not packaged. It has not been packaged attractive enough to be marketable. So I'm trying to I'm not to put down my friend, etc. I'm trying to say that our solution will not be able to solve every angle to a problem. It will only maybe solve some angle to a problem. So that's why we need to, and that's why we need to have this gradual increment of enhancement of the solution. So that's why, as I said, our paradigm when we go doing research, always look at the bigger picture. Where are we positioning our solution? What's the future for it? Where is it heading? So in any work you have problem, then at the end you have the goals, the solution, and you have the process. And as in life, we know we have a problem. We know what we need to achieve, but the problem is always at the process. The enabler. The enabler has always been a process. So the project management tools, as I displayed here, can be some example of the tools that will enable your process. You know about mind map. It's just to generate this at the beginning, and then you drill down means you want to identify specific enablers in your at the process stage. Yeah, the Gantt charts. I think Gantt charts are very typical. I think if you open the migrant portal, they have a very clear Gantt charts, and you have to put in the details of the Gantt charts.
Sorry,
where you have the
interrupt.
yes.
Soalan, the question.
Sorry.
On the topic of management, projects yang encounter management problem ni selalunya is due to difficulty finding GRA students.
Correct. Yeah.
Yalah, because the GRA point will normally help the researcher to sort out the management of the project lah. And nowadays is very hard to find students yang nak sambung master PhD or GRA. So what are your suggestions on the tips how to manage your project without GRA or student?
Okay, I think this is a very real problem. I recently, maybe about 2 weeks ago, we had IEEE annual Malaysia section annual general meeting. I met one or two of my previous former students. They are both lecturers in one university, a very excellent good lecturer. Interesting is they got grants. They got grants, but they cannot attract students. They cannot attract students to go to join the project. And unfortunately, the grant also already at the end, towards the last stage in terms of time frame for completion, and they are struggling to deliver on the outcome. So this is a situation where they have the funding but cannot attract students. Okay, so not just in management. I mean, in managing. Sorry, not. I mean, in running a project, you must have the the people who will work on the project. We as a lecturer, it's not impossible, but nearly very difficult for us to, for example, allocate on our own to complete a project. What more is let's say a $500,000 kind of project for 2 years. It's very normally we're going to need students. Okay, I would say these are the among the risks that that people will face when if I can just jump into Okay, let me just okay. If you don't have a GRA, graduate research assistant, okay, and the problem with many of our structure of our research funding in Malaysia is that they give you fund, but you can only you cannot cover you can only pay their tuition fees, tuition fees, but you cannot pay their sustenance. That means you cannot pay their for example, you cannot pay for their daily allowance, for example. So the example that I give earlier for my two former students who are now academics, they can pay the tuition fees, but they cannot pay the other. So that makes the research offer very unattractive for the potential students. So and in this case, not that they don't have money, they have the money, but they cannot attract the GRA. So what I can suggest, if you do not, if we, let's say, cannot find students to do the project, there's probably two suggestion I can give now. First is that we might want to apply for extension of the projects, so that right from the beginning, right as soon as possible, so that will give us enough time for us to find potential students, GRA. And GRA typically usually are from our former undergraduate students, former final year project students, etc. Okay. First, apply for extension of the grant time period, so that the end time you apply for extension, so that that gives you enough time to for you to find your GRA. Secondly, is to work with your colleagues at other universities that can get a GRA. This is a bit unorthodox. Normally, we want the student to be based in our university, but nowadays, for example, I did propose to my former students, who are the example that I gave just now, for her to place her or to place the students in my university or the university in the Klang Valley, because it's more apparently most students are more excited to maybe to be based to work in the university in the Klang Valley on the east west side of the peninsula rather than the east coast, for example. So so these are examples of where you can outsource in terms of or work with your colleagues at other universities. And these are real risks, because nowadays, because of the constraint of the the situation out there, people graduates, they're really eager to immediately go into the working sector, because you need to get money to pay their PTPTN, etc., the loans, etc. And some they need to find money for to jaga keluarga, keluarga dan sebagainya kan. So memang it's going to be very difficult if you don't have students. So what they do was they break down the project into small FYP projects, final year projects. They break it down into, they say, 3, 4. Some this I'm just telling the practices that when you don't have the typical solution to a question, normally we have to go for alternative solutions. Some they break it down into your design class. You do not treat the student as a GRA, but you try to ensure that the work that the student do basically can map their educational kind of needs and also your research need. But there's a very fine line that you need to be careful, because sometimes I've also seen where lecturers they are how do I say, exploiting the undergraduate students. These are not good for you to do. But you cannot wait for this. You have to make some proactive measures, because at the end of the day, the funder will not want to know your problem. oh, I'm sorry, it's not that I do not know what to do, but I cannot find students. They do not want. The point and the fact of the matter is that at the end of the project, you have not delivered. So this is a problem. It's like this. When you apply for grants, maybe you apply for grants 3 times, you got rejection. Maybe you apply another 3 times, also rejection. But on the record and the problem is in the record of the faculty of university, you do not have any research grant where you are the principal investigator. So what does this tell to the third party when they look at the data? You are very low performing academics. You don't have any grant on your name. But the fact for the matter is that you have tried 6 times. Consecutively tried, but you got rejection. So this is the unfair side, the blind spot in our system, in most public universities especially, where they do not basically credit people for trying. They only credit people when you are successful. So the same with the GRA. If you don't have a GRA, you have no student to help you, and you somehow, because of that, you are not allowed an extension, you can't deliver. That basically will not enable you to get the outcome that you want. And in the record, that will not be captured, where you have difficulty getting GRA. So you really need, as I said earlier, you really need to work creatively. It's not about, and do not get your mind stuck. Okay, saya tak ada student yang habislah project tak jalan kan. You have to be creative about it. Talk to your seniors, find creative ways to do it. I think you can do it. Yeah. So let me just complete I want to spend another maybe 5 minutes, then we can just discuss a lot more. So you have to identify sources of risk. These are the risk management of the project is critical. It's important. I have a project, for example, I've been doing project with the industry for the last, I would say, 12 years. 1-2 companies, and they have been, I don't know whether I'm their loyal researcher or they are my loyal funder, but we have been doing a project for the last 10-12 years for robotic system. What I'm saying is that I always try to avoid as much as possible the dependence for the completion of my project to 1 or 2 particular personality. That means if I don't have this guy, my project will collapse. That is a very risky way of approaching a project. I will try to make it as democratized as possible. That means 1 person or 2 person can always be the contribution. Their contribution to the project can always be replaced by other individual. So as much as possible. Admittedly, there are situations where your project will be tied to 1 particular expertise which are understood by 1 particular person, and sometimes you cannot avoid that, but that is a risk to your project. Like COVID-19 is also a risk of project. It's already a risk to the completion of the project. For example, especially if, in 2020, let's say your project where you need to go to do field work, now you cannot even allow to go out, for example. So that is a risk. Be a risk, but then COVID-19 is a known risk to many, so probably the funder will be okay with it. But there are risks where it emanates or it came from you, from your side. That is the one that will be difficult to define on. Okay? So assess the likelihood, magnitude, and develop response, potential response. Do not wait until it happens. This is, I say, it's very critical. Okay. Okay, then of course you have the Gantt chart, and Gantt chart is there for you to always allow you to review things, to keep track of your projects. And this is the role of a principal investigator. You have to always have the anticipation, always try to anticipate as much as possible the direction of your projects. It's like you drive a car, right? When you drive a car, you are the driver or the PI, the principal investigator. Any slight twist of the steering will change the direction of your car. The same with project. If you lose focus, if you look to the side too long, you might crash into the side. So you might crash into the back of the lorry in front. So you have to be careful. You know when to brake, when to accelerate, and that's why you have co-researcher, right? You have co-researcher. When driving, sometimes I have my wife on my side. So when she can see that I'm sleepy or something, she will give me something to drink, etc. So to know so that the driver will be alert. This is the role of the co-researcher, and it's important. It's good to have co-researcher in your project because then you can share your problem and work together to solve, to enable, to ensure that the project is on the right track. So a Gantt chart is not there just to satisfy the funder so that they know you have a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart must be utilized. And sometimes I know, I don't know, maybe my experience, maybe the same like you or not. Sometimes when I write activity, I just write the activity, just write so that it looks, nice, it looks nice. And sometimes, but once you got the grant, you have to really relook at your Gantt chart and put the activity that really matters, that make sure that at the end of the day, you want to achieve the outcome. What happened in the middle, nobody wants to know actually. And nobody, actually, to be fair, nobody cares what happens in the middle. But as long as you plan properly, execute properly, and take all the necessary measures to cover the to solve the issues that will arise along the way, inshallah you will complete the outcome. So there are tools that you need to utilize. And when I see the migrant, for example, the migrant portal is very useful, a very useful portal, and there's a lot of tools that which can help us out. Okay. So what happens if you are behind schedule? So first you have to state and you have to document and you have to report the implication of delays. You have to be clear what's the implication of delays. Discuss what kind of changes in the plans. For example, before you want to, for example, you have a robot, you want to design a robot. Now, design, fabricate, test. Now you decide, oh, we can't, there's not enough time. We have some money, we just buy off the shelf. The base, you just assemble it. That's a contingency plan. If not, because the robot platform is fundamental for you to test the algorithm, for example. So those are contingency plans. Well, you do not play the blame game, right? And be alert of the delays. Be flexible. In this case, for student, involve your supervisor, but for us, involve our co-researchers, involve our student, our GRA, discuss with them how probably there's some problem with ethics, probably there's some problem with limitation in terms of knowledge, probably we don't have, for example, test facilities. So this all this will compound and become will create a big problem for us. And problem is not a problem. Is not a problem. A problem is sometimes good for us. In most cases, good for us in order to refine our research work. But a problem becomes a real problem when we do nothing and we allow it to compound, and at the end of the day, we do not have the resources to overcome the problem. And we are in despair. And once you are in despair, when the PI have lost hope to the project, then it is as good as closed case. There's no way forward. So a PI will always, and you must remember that, as I said earlier, everything is perpetual nowadays. So perpetual, that means the record is there. So you must show that you have taken all necessary measures to avoid that things from happening. But I'm not trying to be like gloom and doom here. I'm trying to say that we must be realistic when we talk about our research project. Okay. So when you talk about research project management, you talk about, you be clear of the scope, the cost, the communication, the quality, schedule, the risk, who are the stakeholders, the resources. And I would say procurement. Procurement, interestingly, based on my experience, sometimes can be very complicated. Things that you allocate maybe 2 months to procure equipment can take 6 months because you make a mistake, and the bigger the cost of the equipment, the lot more process, especially in public universities. My experience working with the industry through the holdings of the university, holding company of the university is more easier. They are more flexible in terms of the monetary management. But when you are in a public university, you are terikat dengan perkeliling perbendaharaan, you have to prepare for all the ding-dong go to and fro that to buy things. Procurement can be the kata masalah yang tidak dijangka lah. Okay, so again, I think my last slide lah. Second last slide. So we talk about a triple constraint of research project. It's about the time, about cost, and about the scope. And the center of it, that all this will contribute to the quality of the outcome of the research project. Okay, so my own experience, just to share to you, my own experience is I've had 2 FRGS grant. In 2011, 2016, I had 1 PRGS grant back in 2014. I had 1 ERGS, exploratory research grant. I had 1 e-science grant, and this is the biggest. It's about 4.2 million from Ministry of Science. This is back in 2007 until 2010. So that was I was alhamdulillah, I was lucky back then. This was the baseline funding that really enabled me to leapfrog off in my research career. Then I had a number of short-term grants. I had at least I had 3 industry contract research with the companies out there, at least with 3 companies. So my own experience managing researcher is the same. You do it with a public funder or with the industry, but the difference is the time expectation, and also the quality of the output. When we talk about research funding from MOHE, typically they talk about papers or publications. Maybe at PRGS you need to get your patent, one IP, right? But industry, they don't care about the paper. They don't care about the paper that you produce. They want the system, right, to solve their actual problem. And their timeline is 6 months, 1 month, 3 months, which is when we do research, 3 months is like enough for us to do literature review. So there's a different mindset when you do research project with different customer or different stakeholders, right? So again, guys, I hope I have shared. I know time is short, but probably we can discuss now. If you want to give if you have any views or you have any question for me to elaborate on. Thank you, Dr. AlShat. I pass back to you, Dr. AlShat.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. While we wait for the question, I have a question for you, Prof.
Okay.
Bila lepas from PhD, our PhD studies, let's say that if we do our PhD overseas, kita akan disibukkan. Teaching load, sometimes we're being asked to teach new subjects yang we are not familiar with, because being the junior lecturer ni selalunya macam tu lah kan.
Betul.
And then at the same time kena pergi courses everywhere and learn about OBE, which is something yang very new, very big kan. EAC accreditation dan sebagainya, and at the same time we've been pushed to apply FRGS dan sebagainya. Sebab itu yang jadi the situation that you said that pintu tu hampir tutup asalkan letak kaki je. Asalkan culih-culih untuk masuk je proposal tu kan.
Betul.
Okay, and meaning that kalau kita continue our PhD punya tajuk, okay lah, because we have established the background, literature review semua dah ada. Tapi there are certain conditions that we cannot carry forward our PhD project, which is not applicable to Malaysia, tak suit dengan call for proposal dan sebagainya. So end up we need to find new topics, and then disebabkan kesibukan tu, we don't have time to really do detailed proposal dan sebagainya kan. And tapi pada masa yang sama, jabatan ke fakulti ke akan push kan, you must apply, if not tak boleh confirm ke apa semua tu kan. So what is your best advice lah to young researchers or early career academics sitting in that kind of situation, because that happened to me some time ago. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. But I think you were successful, I think, overcome the problem. Okay, Dr. AlShat, thank you. Dia beginilah, saya fikir begini. Dia tak apa cakap bahasa Melayu. We must when I was in UNIMAP, I was the divisi for Academy International. My role was to interview the new lecturers. One of the typical question I have, I will usually ask them, okay, now you are joining UNIMAP as a university. How long do you have before you pension? Some say another 30 years, some say another 25 years, you know. Some say I have another 20 years. This is about, you know, you have to put your plan right the first day you enter university until the probable last date you're going to exit university. Let's say you have 30 years. So we have to plan your career 30 years, and you want to be happy. You want to be happy working for 30 years in the university. I pity some of bila saya tengok lecture baru rasa dengan orang ni sebab rasa nampak dia stres sangat. Stres sebab apa? Sebab kena publish paper, kena dapat grant, kena cari student, kena mengajar subjek baru kan. Sebenarnya saya pun dulu macam tu juga, tapi nak ceritakan dia back then in 1999 2000 when I joined in March 1999, it was not there, this pressure. And back then, as a public university dulu, nak confirm 3 tahun. You buat perform macam mana pun 3 tahun. You bagus terbang ke langit ke, you tak perform pun, paling cepat 3 tahun. Jadi, we took our own sweet time tau. We know, okay, you buat macam mana pun 3 tahun. So, I say, okay, tak apa, kita lah 3 tahun. Jadi, tak ada stress lah. Sekarang ni, you say kata, you boleh confirm masa setahun. Tapi, you kena perform lah. You kena perform gila-gila lah. And if you confirm dalam 3 tahun, you are down upon. People look at you, apa lama sangat confirm 3 tahun kan? Macam you ni teruk lah. Sebenarnya bagi saya, when you play, you have to go for the long run. Jangan stress yourself sampai you burn out in the first 5 years. Because to me, it's very dangerous. You have macam kita berlari marathon lah kan. You going to run for another 30 years. You join at the age of 30, for example, if you pension at the age of 60, you're going to work in the university for 30 years, man. So plan your path, jangan rush lah. Sebab, and if you say, I want to get become professor as fast as possible, as soon as possible, because I want to get the salary, I can tell you, if it's about the money, you are in the wrong profession. You go to industry. You can in the industry, they will pay you more. You can get more money. I have a colleague who I work until I do my PhD. Saya kerja, kita semua belajar terus nak dapat PhD kan. My colleague degree je, masuk oil and gas gaji 40,000, 50,000 sebulan. Tak ada nak. Yalah, tak kata kerja dia senang, nak mengatakan you have to put your mindset, the frame of mind or the mindset to proper. Okay? So dalam case tadi, memanglah stress, tapi do not compare yourself to the next door lah. Mungkin dia boleh buat, mungkin dia boleh pulun. Mungkin dia, contohnya kita ada anak 4 orang, 5 orang, dia tak kahwin lagi. Tapi dia boleh lah spend more time. Dia kata, oh, I'm teruk lah aku ni, dia ni bagus. But you cannot just compare apple to apple guys. But different people have different constraint, different problem. But you have to have the plan. Macam contoh, pensyarah baru, memang kena ambil subjek sebab kena tak cukup points untuk ni pun, untuk confirm. Untuk naik pangkat, sama dia, you need to collect certain minimum number of teaching hours. So kalau you kata, kalau macam katalah pensyarah baru dalam sidang pagi ni kata, kalau boleh pensyarah baru tidak diberi tugas mengajar selama 3 tahun pertama, nanti tak boleh naik pangkat. Sebab tak cukup minimum teaching hours. Contoh. So there are always two sides of a coin, right? Tapi tidak wajar diberi tugas terlalu berat. So maksud saya nak ceritakan, you have to pace yourself so that you are going for the long run and strategize. Be strategic in your working. For example, if you want to offer yourself in admin post, be strategic about the admin post. Do not just do anything that comes into your way. Or Because macam contohlah kan, sometimes I tell my students they want to collect points these are good students excellent students, undergraduate students masa saya jadi timbalan dekan akademik, I told them, if you want to be active in society, I want you to be the president or at least the deputy president. Jangan jadi tukang klip kertas sebab apa? Sebab you need to be strategic. If you want to be you want to progress in your career, you want to become a very a holistic kind of you cover all the grounds, you need to be strategic about your decision. But all in all, do not unnecessarily put yourself in a very jangan mudah tertekan lah, sebab you nak, come on man, you nak ada lagi 30 tahun nak duduk sini kan. Nanti sebab saya nampak dah orang ramai adalah yang saya nampak yang burnout, dia lepas 5 tahun dia penat dah, dia kata tak nak buat apa-apa. Padahal dia ada lagi 25 years, another 20 years. So saya rasa this is a balance. Dan boleh consult your seniors, kecuali your source of problem is from the seniors, kena consult senior lain lah.
Okay, another question, Prof.
Macam mana?
Another question.
Okay,
lagi. Sorry saya interrupt, saya takut terlupa. Ada soalan daripada Dr. Fauzan, dia kata sometimes dia hilang sabar bila nak deal dengan too much bureaucracy, especially bila melibatkan kewangan. Banyak sangat lapis-lapisan nak dapatkan approval untuk nak belanja duit kan.
Betul.
Nak dapat susah, dah dapat pun susah, nak belanja pun susah kan. So macam mana nak atasi ni, Prof?
Saya nak kata ni, itu nak jawab besar ni. Dia memang, you have to accept the fact that macam mana, satu tips saya nak beritahu lah. You need to be very friendly with the pegawai di pejabat yang menguruskan kewangan. Bukan friendly supaya dia bend the rules, tak. Be very close and very friendly with the person yang manage kewangan untuk dia boleh beritahu kita apa benda yang sebenarnya dia orang nak tengok. Bukan suruh dia bend the rules. Sebab kadang-kadang kita kena faham yang menguruskan kewangan ni, mereka ni dia tak boleh macam tak pula untuk Dr. Fauzan kita bagi apalah, bagi mudah dah, dia tak payah benda ni. Jadi maklumat ni dia tak masuk, tak boleh kita bagi dia cepat sikit. Sebab nanti mereka akan di audit. Ada AP59 tau. AP59 ni pasal perkeling yang mana boleh surcharge. Maknanya kalau kesalahan tu bukan pada pendidik, tapi pada yang memproses tu. Yang memproses tu boleh dikirakan tindakan disiplin. Jadi pihak pendahari ni, selalu saya dapati pengalaman saya di USM dan juga di UNIMAT, sorry lah sebut nama kan, walaupun saya dah buka UNIMAT, di USM dan UNIMAT, ialah dokumen yang tidak lengkap daripada penyelidik bukan kerana pihak bendahari itu sengaja nak menyusahkan penyelidik, tapi penyelidik itu tak maklum lebih awal the complete list of the documentation yang nak dihantar. Jadi menyebabkan bendahari tak boleh proses. Jadi diorang ni macam bendahari ni samalah semua universiti pun sama je. Dia macam gear tau, gear banyak gear kan. Kadang-kadang gear tu sangkut pada gear paling kecil tu. Tapi bila gear paling kecil tu sangkut, habis gear paling besar. Gear paling besar ni dekat lah kata. Dia nak luluskan final. Tapi sangkut gear paling kecil. Sebab kita terlepas tak cukup dokumen dan gear tu tak jalan. Sebab dia tak berani jalan. Sebab kalau dia jalan, dia salah. Lepas tu saya punya nasihat kepada Fauzan lah. Kena betul-betul baik-baik dengan, baik itu bukan maksud saya rasuah dia, tak, bukan bentuk. Maksudnya baik dalam arti kata, minta dia cerita tu, Fauzan, you make sure you bagi macam ni. Sebab macam saya pengalaman saya pun silap kadang-kadang. Saya pun biasa, saya ni jenis orang tahu saya tahulah, kadang-kadang saya pun nak ni. So, saya pun biasa nak ni dengan hari. Tapi bila nak ni tu, misal juga sebab yang silap saya. Sebab tak cukup dokumen. Jadi kadang-kadang kita kena apa ni? Kena ada timbang rasa lah. Tapi itu cuma saya punya nak advice pada semua ada dua. Satu, make sure you ada proper buffer untuk procurement. Dua, make sure you ada record yang proper pasal finance. Sebab saya nak sebut pengalaman saya peribadi, kadang-kadang projek tu dah tutup dah 4-5 tahun dah. Tiba-tiba ada isu dan mereka minta bukti kewangan pada kita. After so many years. Ada berlaku. Jadi saya pun memang tak tahu nak kata apa lah, masih cari lah. So make sure your financial punya record tu top notch lah, sebab nanti kalau diminta you memang ada. Dan make sure you bila you minta contoh ternyata baki account dalam grant, memang kena ada monthly. Biasa benar dia akan bagi monthly kan. I make sure you ask your GRA ke USNI ke Yoko ke siapa ke, check dia punya balance dan double check dengan bendahari. Sebab at the end of the day, orang cakap di mana universiti pun, kalau berlaku kesilapan, jaranglah institusi akan mengaku mereka silap. Mereka akan kata, Linedik dah silap. To tell you, make sure ada record. Then make sure you know what you spend. When you spend, memang according to the pekelilik. Ini penting. Terutama, sebab tu saya kata, saya pernah dapat research grant 4 million. Memang the first week saya dapat 4 million grant tu, memang out of this world lah the feeling. Out of this world. Lepas tu, ya Allah, struggle nak urus 4 juta ni. Struggle sebab daripada you beli skru sampai you beli komputer atau beli, you kena tahu. So, dapat duit, dapat grant besar memang seronok. Tapi nak menguruskan duit besar tu, peningnya pun memang tak seronok.
Okay,
so, boleh
thank you. Kita buka kepada yang lain. Syed, saya je tanya soalan ni. Ada any question from the audience? You can type your question or you can turn on the mic. Ada tak daripada audience? Sebab kita buat dalam Zoom ni lebih tertutup dan lebih dekat lah kalau nak tanya soalan directly. Ada ke? Sementara tunggu, saya tanya lagi satu soalan apa? Okay, bila kita ada research project, research grant ni, kita ada PI dan juga co-researcher. Okay.
Betul.
Waktu saya mula-mula masuk dulu, saya dijemput sebagai co-researcher. Kita budak baru kan, masuk kan.
Ya.
And then bila tengok aku ni tak ada disuruh buat apa-apa pun. So dia PI tu dia lone ranger je, dia buat semua je. Nama kita ada dalam grant je untuk claim KPI je kan.
Betul.
And then bila kita dah ada research grant pun, kita tiba-tiba rasa macam, oh patutlah PI buat semua, sebab dia rasa macam susah nak delegate kepada co-researcher ni kan.
Ya, betul.
Jadi I think it is the problem with cara diurus projek dan cara diinteract dengan co-researcher kan. Do you have any advice on what's the best practice untuk menguruskan projek dengan cara memaksimalkan penglibatan co-researcher ni, Prof?
Dia beginilah. Biasanya pengalaman I think most of us dah lalu atau akan lalu lah. So saya biasa jadi PI dan biasa jadi co-researcher lah. Dan memang typical. Co-researcher ni biasa, sebab apa biasa kenapa proposal kena ada co-researcher? Sebab co-researcher ni dia akan the existence of a very strong co-researcher will indicate to the evaluator that you have a very strong team to support your research. Though the grant evaluator knows, they are also researcher, they know that the finally yang the actual person that will lead to the project is the PI. But at least these 3 or 4 people yang become the co-researcher has agreed to put their name, and anything they will also have the backlash lah. Kalau projek tu ada masalah, dia akan dapat backlash. Tapi the execution of the project is always the responsibility of the PI lah. Okay, so itu memang tapi secara itu praktis, secara real execution in theory, ideally sepatutnya, dan memang ditulis dalam proposal pun, setiap co-researcher ni dia ada sumbangan dia. Contoh co-researcher A, number 1 contribute. Let's say I'm a robotic. Let's say I do a project robotic. I look more on the hardware. So I need one co-researcher to look on the software because he got some good on coding. Then I need another, let's say another co-researcher that looks on the communication side because I'm not good on the communication side. So those are in a very clear-cut demarcation of needs, then the co-researcher will be functional lah. But I've seen a proposal that have, let's say, 9-10 co-researcher lah. So once you see a project with 9 or 10 co-researcher, you know there's so many sleeping partner, not sleeping partner. Sleeping partner, apa dia panggil? Sleeping partner dia panggil. Apa dia sleeping partner, benda lain lah kan. Maksudnya,
free rider lah bro. Free rider.
free rider lah. So many free rider lah. So maksudnya orang yang letak nama for the sake nak bagi gempak lah sikit, nampak hebat lah proposal tu, tapi sebenarnya tak lah. So and then the pity is this, the pity is I saw when I evaluate, sometimes I evaluate people that apply for media, apply for professor. He got so many research project, but almost all are co-researcher. So in so many area, dan dia cuma ada satu dua saja yang dia sebagai PI. I want to advise the young early career academics. You have to aim for at least 2, 3 lah. 3, I would say 3 will be minimal lah. You apply if you want to apply for PI for Prosomedia associate professor as a PI. And back to the question of apa ni, Dr. Rashidan. Memang no grad evaluator will finally at the end ask, okay, co-researcher, did you do your work? Nobody will ask. Nobody will ask. As long as the outcome of the project is achieved. That's why I said earlier, people, evaluator do not care. They don't ask. Did you enjoy the research project, Dr. Rashidan? How do you feel? Are you happy after doing the project? If the funder asks you that, please tell me. I want to find out who is this funder lah. Because nobody will ask. As long as you get you say, I want to produce 5 Q1 paper, you produce 6. Excellent. I want to produce 1 PhD student, 1 master student. You produce 1 PhD student, 1 PhD, 2 master student. You are par excellent lah macam tu. Nobody will ask you the struggle that you go through. So the thing is, co-researcher, normally what I can see, some they have 2 projects. Dr. Rashidan become the PI, I become your co. This project, you become the PI, I become your co, right? Something like terbalik lah. Then we work together to complete both project. Tu saya tengok. Tu memang ni lah. Tapi co-researcher ni selalu gitulah. Dia jadi macam free rider lah. Free rider dia sengaja nak become free rider. Selalu dia PI yang jemput dia. Sebab PI tu nak strengthen punya proposal. Dia jemput lah co-researcher. Dan saya pun biasa je, my former student kata, boleh tak project di co-researcher? Saya kata boleh, tak masalah. Because I'm sure along the way, dia akan kata, adalah insyaAllah kita perlu ada isu sikit projek ni nak saya bagilah bantuan. Tapi itulah, itulah dia. Biasanya co-researcher ni, kalau you macam Dr. Rashidan lah, walai lah, early career, let's say you apply, it's good to get your co as your senior like associate professor as a co, to show that you have a good backup. So bila nanti funder kata, ini bawa balik ni, dia boleh ke buat? Oh tak apa-apa, dia punya team ni ada 2 profesor, bantu dia. Okey lah. Itu je dia punya role. Yang selalu, ideally sepatutnya, these 2 professor will actively assist you. But dalam banyak keadaan, you pun tahu kan, taklah sangat. Dia macam tu. Biasa tak pun. Kita kata terang lah, tak pun. Dan mungkin praktisnya kena diperbaiki lagi. Itulah Dr. Rashidan.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, ada lagi soalan daripada audience. Siapa ni? Dr. Hadi, Dr. Asma, Dr. Amir Putra. Ni semua orang hebat ni.
Oh, Dr. Asma memang 5 years ni, bagi saya 5 years di jadi IPM jadi associate professor di sini, typical 5 years. Normally kalau you boleh buat the first 5 years untuk jadi prosomedia, and the next 5 years to become professor lah. So 10 years is to me, if you can join as a senior lecturer, not senior lecturer kan, lepas PhD, and you end up as a professor after 10 years, I think this is excellent. Memang excellent lah. Excellent sebab silakan.
Oh tak, saya Dr. Asma. Tak saja dia share because I don't know, sebab tadi Prof did mention that like if you have such macam high expectation, some of us become like burnt out kan. So for the 5 years we burn out afterward. Okay lah, whatever lah. No, I think I do agree that 5 years is feasible, but yeah, it has some impact on the young lecturers as well. Okay, otherwise kan Prof, just like a casual question lah. Yesterday I had some sharing with the Prof Harlina, and she said that we need to know how to manage our monkeys. Monkeys with meaning. That term is actually referring to the fact that there are things that we are not supposed to do it. We supposed to know how to like give to like Dr. Rashid said just now, give to our co-researchers and so on. But as a young lecturer, how do we know our monkeys? What is actually our monkey, what is not, and so on, so that we can like macam boleh tai chi lah. Sometimes kan, this is not ours. Let me focus on something.
Ya, betul lah. Realistically, I can try to answer from maybe one to perspective. Kalau you talk I presume monkeys ni the things that you harap tak perlu buat, harap orang lain boleh buat lah, maksudnya begitu boleh.
Exactly.
Macam tu kan. Dia memang kalau you in a faculty structure, normally dia akan bukan monkeys, macam-macam datang tu. Macam datang keluar dia. Maksudnya, so you have to be, bagi saya begini, it's not good to become a yes man or yes woman lah, depending on your perspective. Yes man maksudnya terima je semua, apa dia minta semua you buat. Ni I'm talking from administrative perspective. And it is also not good to become a no man. Semua tak boleh, semua tak nak. And I've seen both. In my experience dalam akademia ni, I've seen both type of person yang kesian kat dia, yang yes man ni, kita kesian kat dia. Dia ni sampai dia paper, tak ada masa nak buat benda lain. Dia orang suruh dia buat kerja je, dia pula baik je kan. And then dia become, at the end of the day, bila orang evaluate the performance, orang tak tengok pun dia punya contribution. Tengok pun kata, baguslah dia ni tapi tak ada markah. Tak ada markah kan. Atau kalau di ada ekstrim, I've seen juga orang yang segala apa yang fakulti minta bantuan, dia semua tak nak. Dia kata benda ni doesn't benefit me, it won't help in my promotion, I don't want to be part of it. So dia create an aura of person yang very self-centered, very negative. Orang tak orang sama sudah tak nak collaborate dengan dia dalam every angle. Jadi orang macam kesumbang lah. Kesumbang bahasa Inggeris apa definition atau sebut kesumbang ni. Tapi maksudnya loner lah, loner monkey. Nobody wants to play. Jadi saya about the Tasmail lah. We can be professional about it. Ada benda yang you can, we should within the ambit of your responsibility, you should. Dan ada benda sebenarnya you want it to be given to you. Contohnya experience in administration. Kalau macam research ni, kalau dalam itu sorry saya balik. Kalau macam dalam admin ni ada benda you want the dean office to give that job to you, so you want to experience it, to enhance your experience. Ada benda dia dah bagi lah, you akan kata dia, okay, I've done it for the last 2 semester, I think it's time for other staff to tak be professional about it. I think it's okay lah. Tak adalah kita semua kita terima, semua kita tolak. So kita try to ni lah, itu sikit administratif atau benda-benda berkaitan dengan fakulti. Ada berkaitan dengan research, there are things yang if you have agreed with your co-researcher that this is your responsibility, these are your responsibility, and then there should be so dah tu kata-kata dia kata, if the feeling are mutual, the contribution will be equal. If the feeling are mutual, the contribution will be equal. Maksudnya kalau kita mutual understanding of the responsibility, everybody will contribute lah. So dalam konteks research, kalau everybody understood the responsibility, they will contribute equally. Tapi kalau yang orang tu dia tak faham pun, dia sekadar nak ambil kesempatan, you will immediately see dia tak akan contribute. Sebab dia punya glaring lah, dia memang a free rider. Itu memang obvious. And there is no harm for PI to change. Dia boleh je tukar, nak tambah, nak buang, tak kisah. It's up to the principal investor. Tapi betul lah, saya minta the young researcher, do not get yourself termasuk dalam this rat race ni lah, terlalu cepat sangat. Just pace yourself, look at the landscape, strategize your movement, strategize your action, then go for the long term. And be professional about it. Sebab dia saya selalu kata kat saya ni style lah, be happy working in the environment. Kalau you tak happy kan, you balik rumah stress, pergi esok stress, dia akan merosakkan you internally and physically lah. So jadi kita kena take it straight dan nanti you'll be successful. Untuk record saya masuk, I got my senior lecturer masa kami kena mohon masa international masa masuk senior lecturer lah. Tu yang saya tak puas hati sikit international.
Sempat lagi.
Saya masuk 1999, saya dah naik senior lecturer 2005, become Professor Madya 2007, I become Professor 2014. So that is about 15 years lah. So to me 15 years, alhamdulillah for me it was a good to me lah. Alhamdulillah, it's a good age lah. Saya tak adalah rush sangat, tak adalah, and I got it at the age of 43. So alhamdulillah, saya pun sekarang ni bukanlah muda sangat kan. At the age of 43 I got my professor. So I think I always tell my colleague, enjoy lah, kita enjoy, happy go lucky. Maksud kita rasa seronok, kita nak rasa bersemangat, contribute, rather than always being stressful, rasa tertekan, always looking for, kalau boleh nak keluar je. Tak. I enjoy, alhamdulillah, Allah izin, enjoy working in university because there's so many things that we can do. Memanglah stress, kalau kita tak stress, tak ada stress langsung, saya ingat orang tu ada masalah. Setiap kita mesti ada stress dia. You need just enough dose of stress, tapi not too much lah. Itu saja.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rizal, Professor IRTS Dr. Muhammad AlShat, atas kesediaan Prof untuk berkongsi dengan kita pada pagi ini. Saya sendiri banyaklah belajar daripada Prof Rizal, daripada dulu lagi selalu kontak dia, tanya apa-apa masalah yang nak dibincangkan. Dan kita juga terima kasih kepada Prof yang sudi untuk bersama dengan kita bukan hanya pada bulan ini sahaja, tetapi sehingga ke bulan Ogos. Jadi seperti mana yang saya share dalam screen sharing tu adalah jadual kita, bukanlah jadual lah, tajuk-tajuk yang bakal kita bawakan. Jadi kalau kita tengok, kita banyak cerita pasal climbing the academic ladder, nak naik pangkat dan sebagainya. Itu kita akan kupas dengan lebih detail pada bulan April. Tetapi jangan lupa untuk bersama dengan kita, jadi macam radio pula, untuk bulan Mac, iaitu kita akan tengok habits of highly effective academics. Okay? Sebab saya tengok ramai je prof-prof yang pegang jawatan TNC dan sebagainya, tapi paper dia keluar, research project dia dapat grant, dapat student, dapat. Kita ni yang muda-muda yang tak ada pegang jawatan sangat pun terkapal-kapal kan, tak cukup masa.
Kita ni Dr. Rajang, kita tu termasuk saya lah.
Kami minta maaf, kami. Jadi ada yang saya dengar tips, dia kata dia baca jurnal ketika dalam kereta, sebelum dia tidur, even 5 minit. Jadi kita nak belajar apakah tips yang kecil-kecil macam ni, tapi kumulatif, yang mungkin akan membantu kita lah untuk kita manage our time dengan lebih baik dan menjadi lebih efektif, okay, sebagai seorang akademik. Okay, terima kasih kepada semua. Sekali lagi, yang mana yang nak dengar balik recording boleh pergi ke Facebook Perintis, dan yang nak dapat akses kepada slides boleh pergi ke link yang telah saya bagi dalam ruangan chat tadi. Saya akan dapatkan slides daripada Prof. Boleh Prof, slides tu?
Boleh.
Okay. Dan nanti kita akan jadikan itu sebagai our archive untuk semua slides untuk program EAST2020. Okey, terima kasih semua. Dan kita jumpa lagi pada bulan akan datang untuk sambungan siri yang kedua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okey, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sorry, kami tengah meeting actually.
Okey. Oh, ni doktor. Okey.
Assalamualaikum. On your own friend saying hello. Ni nampak ni Dr. Ilas. Kami tengah aku janji. Ni Prof Saleh buat aku janji SKT. Sorry.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Prof, you take care. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Dia pergi tau.
Suruh dia buat untuk biasalah research.